With the application cycle coming up for the next round of MBA applications, I wanted to make this video today about how to approach the MBA essays, regardless of the school that you're trying to apply to, because even though that the questions are going to differ a little bit here and there for every school, generally there are some themes that you want to think about and distill before you actually start and go down the road of writing your essays. So I just went through that experience, and now I'll be starting my journey at Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University in about a month's time. So there's 3 questions in particular that I'm going to be going through today that I think are going to be very helpful for you and were very helpful for me as I was starting the process of my MBA essays. Using these answers as a base, they can be really helpful as you start to fine-tune and tailor the responses for each of the schools that you're going to be applying to. And using this base, one of the key things is then you can use that to draw examples of different events or work experiences in your life to help illustrate the point and drive it home why you are in fact a good candidate for the school. So one of the key things that I think business schools are looking for is, what are you going to bring to the classroom? And this is a super important point, because it's not just about what can you take from them, what are the resources that they can invest into you, but it's ultimately what can you do for all the other students and even for the professors. Now, in one of the things in one of the sessions that I had during orientation just a couple weeks ago was they talk about the value of bringing your expertise and your experiences to the classroom. And for example, when we're going through case studies, and we did this during the orientation as well, we went through a case study and the professors were all advocating, draw in experiences that you've had. Think about ways that maybe will help other students. So think about those types of experiences that you've had in your career and ultimately how that you think positions you as kind of a unique candidate. So one mistake that I think a lot of people run into is worrying too much that they're not sounding unique enough as a candidate. Don't worry about that. Focus on being as genuine as possible and to your core having answers that you really truly believe in, not like, I want to be a better manager, right? What does that even mean anyway? It could be something more like, I want to learn how to better take risk. I want to feel like I'm able to take risks because I have frameworks that I can use to be more calculated. Something I talked about was having a safe environment to be able to try out new ideas and take risks. Because business school, in a sense, is like a playground. And I use that analogy in multiple cases, that business school is this playground. I'm coming in with this level of experience. I've worked in startups. And this is kind of a time in a petri dish to just try new things and try ideas and meet people that are kind of as crazy as I am, right? And that was kind of the narrative that I went down. So even if it's not something that is 100% unique and maybe something else that somebody else could say, doesn't matter. It has to be a story, again, that's just genuine and from the heart. So the second question is, what leadership qualities do you embody? I would suggest thinking broadly here. Think about when you grew up, were you involved in sports? And were there opportunities where you had to lead your team, where you had to step in and step up to the plate? Were there opportunities in school, in projects that you felt like you had to motivate the rest of the team, and through that, you were able to overcome some adversity? Or maybe throughout your career experiences, there are just clear examples where you had to figure something out from scratch and maybe the problem handed to you was ambiguous. You can take this one in a lot of different directions, but try to distill maybe like 3 or 4 examples and think about the themes that are common to all of them. Like, how do you lead? A clear example of that could be you try to get to the bottom of a problem. You try to get to the roots of the problem, and you're really good at doing that. Another one could be you're really good at kind of inspiring and motivating the team to get around a problem and to bring skill sets together. Whatever it is, think about what you feel your qualities are as a leader, and that'll help you to position yourself when you're writing your essays. One pretty cool example that Jenna gave when she was applying to Duke University for her MBA was how she pushed her company where she was working at the time during the Black Lives Matter, George Floyd protests was to push them to have more of a diversity, equity, and inclusion policy. And the company that she was working at the time, they were pretty silent about all the protests that were going on. And other companies, they were getting more involved in the discussion. They were acknowledging that what was happening was wrong because there was a lot of outrage in general in the country. And she really pushed her leadership team at her company. And when they were not really responsive, ultimately she took it to more of a grassroots movement. And because of that internal pressure that she was able to identify was there and really orient people around this problem, it was something that kind of forced change at the leadership level. And an amazing example of leadership in action. And I'm super proud of Jenna for that one. That type of example in that story, though, in the moment, you may not realize like, oh my God, I'm being a leader, right? And that doesn't matter. It's about when you reflect back, are there themes that you can take away from that? And, are there areas that maybe you took a risk? And that was leadership in and of itself. So after doing this exercise, and this will be a little bit closer to when you're actually tailoring your essays for each school, it's really important to look at the leadership values that are posted on each school's website. And then from there, using the experiences that you can already draw upon, trying then to see if those principles that you have, if they match up with what the schools are saying. And these leadership principles, by the way, are so highly valued at each of these business schools. And really now, having gone through orientation and seen Jenna's experience, it's deeply rooted in the culture of the business school. So whether you like it or not, it's going to be something that you'd have to interface with quite a bit. And the experiences that you draw upon, hopefully they can be a bit of a base to compare and see how the leadership values that are displayed at each of these schools might match up with what you've already thought about. So just to give you an example of what some of these leadership principles are, for Northwestern Kellogg, they are lead with purpose, achieve together through collaboration, promote Kellogg community success, and deliver high impact with low ego. That last one is what Kellogg is known for. It's known for attracting students that will provide a helping hand when other students or alums are in need. And for example, one thing that I found when I was applying to Northwestern was all the alum I spoke to or tried to get in touch with, they all reached out back. They all returned my calls. And that was super important for me. And it just went to show that people are willing to pay it forward. So the third question is, what do you want to get out of an MBA? Now, not having your story straight on this one is going to cause a lot of problems down the road, whether it's in your essays or in your interviews, or even if you're just talking informally to alum or current students. Because if you don't know why you want to be pursuing this thing that's expensive and is going to take up 2 to 3 years, if not more, of your time, then you're wasting everybody's time. But again, think about where you are in your career and what are some of the things you feel like are pushing you to want to get an MBA. Is it simply you don't like your job? Is it that you don't like your industry? Is it that you want to transition industries? Do you feel like you're lacking certain skills? Do you want to build a network? What is it? Or again, if you work in certain sectors, you may need it to climb the career ladder, right? If you work in investment banking or in consulting, that's where it's kind of needed to continue growing. But in other cases, like if you work in tech like I do, it's not necessarily needed, but it's going to give you a lot of skills that will continue to propel you. Like, for example, I have a background in marketing. I don't know much about product. I know almost nothing about finance and accounting. But if I want to ever lead a company, I'm going to need to know some stuff about finance and accounting. Whether I get that information from books or just learning on the job, that's another question. But to be able to kind of comprehensively take out time, like a 2 to 3 year window of my life, and really invest and learn this stuff properly, which I felt is a lot of material that I've learned on the job, right? And I'm learning it haphazardly and here and there. This is kind of a moment where I can take a pause. And for me, that's how I feel I'm getting the value out of an MBA. In addition to, again, having a safe space in a playground to test out new ideas and to meet people and to try and experiment and take risks. But for everybody, that answer to that question is going to be a little bit different. And even if you are able to just come up with like 5 bullet points for now, as you get a little bit closer to, again, that process of writing the essays, it's going to serve you well because you're already thinking ahead of it. And frankly, if you can also ask people why they chose to do an MBA and try and identify people that are working in a sector that you want to be in or in the position that you want to be in eventually, ask them in the cases where they did an MBA, why did you do it and how did it help you to get to where you are? So there you go, 3 questions that are short and sweet and hopefully will help you to get the ball rolling on your MBA essays when you start to write them. And you know, it is a lot of work, right? Every school is going to have their own sets of questions, but these 3 questions should help to give you, again, a base that you can then work off for each of the specific questions that you're answering for each of the schools. So it's no doubt that writing MBA essays is a lot of work, and hopefully these 3 questions will help you to develop a base where you can then use that to branch off and write the respective essays for each of the schools. Let me know how you get on with these questions, and if you have any other questions as well, I am more than happy to help, so leave a comment down below. And if you are interested in other MBA related content, check out one of these 2 videos where maybe that will help you out as well in terms of trying to figure out if you want to get an MBA or what our perspectives are in terms of going through this experience. So until next time, take care and thanks for watching.